Hey, what's up guys, it's BenBonk, and welcome back to the 50-second Slimekeep Devlog. In this devlog, I reworked the challenge mode of the game and added more game juice. Also, if you're new here, Slimekeep is a fast-paced roguelike where you must kill and capture slimes to stop the corruption that has infected your land. Without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing I worked on in this devlog was something that's been highly requested by you guys for years now, and that is an actual slime dictionary where the player could view information about every slime in the game. Now, this was the original intended purpose of creating the Book of Slime / pause menu, and I was thinking of doing this eventually, but I always just put it on the back burner until now. So to start, I created this sample slime dictionary page. This page would serve as a template for all these slime dictionary pages and would contain information such as the slime name, artwork, a description, the attack type, and what currency types the slime gave. Then, with this template in mind, I created 25 unique pages for all these slime types in the game. This took quite a while, but now the player could flip through and read up on each specific slime, which was pretty cool. And finally, I created a system so that by default, all the pages in the game will be undiscovered with a question mark over them. But if I exit the Book of Slime and kill a regular slime, for example, head back into the Book of Slime, we can see that this page is unlocked and will remain unlocked for all future runs. So yeah, that is the new slime dictionary. Pretty cool stuff in my opinion. Now moving on, I got some really great feedback a few devlogs ago regarding the new challenge mode. As a quick refresher, this new challenge mode in the game would unlock after the player beats the game once, and everything would just be way harder than it was in the normal game. Mainly slime ball drops would be halved, and enemy damage would be doubled. And well, that was kind of it. Sure, it would make the game harder, but as people pointed out, it's just really not a fun challenge, and it felt really lazy as the core game was the exact same with just a few tweaked values. So I really wanted to fix this and make something more unique. So first, one small change I made was changing the slime ball drop system. Instead of cutting these drops in half right off the rim, I changed it so as the player plays more, less slime balls will be dropped. So the game kind of eases into this challenge aspect instead of going from 0 to 100. Next, I removed the double damage effect in challenge mode because I had a cooler idea in mind to make the game more difficult, and this was challenge modifiers. I drafted up a few ideas for these modifiers and had the plan to make one random challenge modifier apply to each day in challenge mode. These challenge modifiers had the goal of actually changing the player's behavior by throwing them a curveball at what they were used to doing. So to get right into things, I created this transition effect that would play when starting a new day. Then for the first challenge modifier I created was Bazooka Skies. This modifier would cause a bazooka to fall from the skies every few seconds while in combat. This way the player has to constantly stay on their toes in combat and must be aware of these bazookas falling down. Next, I created the Dusty Dash modifier. This makes the player only have one dash for the whole day instead of 3. While this may seem like a simple change, the player's dash is a crucial mechanic to save them from taking damage and navigating tricky situations. So limiting this dash to have only one in capacity really forces the player to think carefully about when and where to dash. Moving on, we had buff slimes, where slimes in the room would have 50% more health. While nothing crazy, this does make rooms considerably more difficult and challenging. But for a more exciting modifier, we had Rusty Reload, where the player's reload would be slightly slower than normal and freeze the player for 1 second. I think this is a pretty fun one because it really makes the player think about when they want to reload in combat and how they're using their bullets. Next up, we had Long Jump Slimes, which is pretty self-explanatory and makes slimes jump faster and further. This actually really made the slimes feel weird because the player is so used to them jumping the same kind of distance each time, but now that distance is way further, making them a bit more unpredictable at first and dangerous. Moving on, we had Slime Explosion, which made slimes explode into a few projectiles upon death. This way, the player really has to be conscious of these projectiles during combat and their distance between themselves and the slime they kill. And for the final challenge modifier, we had Slimy Scythe. With this modifier active, a deadly scythe will occasionally spawn and swing at the player while in combat. This one is kind of like the Bazooka Skies modifier, where the player has to be on their toes during combat to not get hit by this massive scythe and use their dashes carefully. Then to wrap things up, I made it so that for any given day, one of these random modifiers will activate. They don't stack or anything, so it's not like things will be super brutal, but still combined with the limited slime balls, I do think this new challenge mode is a massive improvement and should hopefully be fun to play, so let me know what you think. Also, I did realize after creating this challenge mode that it's kind of really similar to the challenge mode in Enter the Gungeon, which I didn't really process at the time, so yeah, oh well I guess. But I'm guessing that you probably haven't wishlisted Slimekeep on Steam yet, so if you haven't, please do so. If you don't know, I've got a deal in place where if the game hits 20,000 wishlists before launch, I will release the game with a 20% discount at launch. So every wishlist counts towards this goal. And if you want to help contribute, please consider clicking the link in the description to wishlist the game. Anyways, next on the agenda was adding way more polish and game juice to the game, because even though I feel like I've been doing this for ages, people always tell me it's not enough, which is fair, and I did feel like the game was still missing that last layer of game feel improvements. So first, I created a few cracking animations to play when a bullet hits the wall to sell more impact. After implementing this in game, I thought it really made the world feel more reactive, and some bullets will leave permanent cracks while others will fade out after a few seconds. Next, let's talk about this bullet destroy effect. Right now, a bunch of square particles would just spew out, and I got a lot of feedback from my playtesters that these projectiles, as well as all the other square projectiles in the game, looked really bad, and made the game look a lot more amateur. So I made it my goal to replace every single particle system in the game that had these blocky squares with hand-drawn pixel art particles. So starting with the standard bullet impact effect, him in my Discord server redrew this dust effect for Slimekeep, which he used in his game Seraphim, so you can check that out if you like. I then took this effect, threw it into the bullet impact particle system, tweaked some things, and boom, now the bullet impact particle system felt so much better. But the thing is, not all weapons in the game use this standard bullet impact, and some had custom particle systems. So I created a bunch more custom particles for these weapons, such as the echo gun, the fish, the snowball launcher, the nailinator, the plasma rifle, and so on. But next on the list of particles to replace was this little dust that appeared when the player started moving after being still. So I added in this new white dust here, as well as some new dust that appears when the player dashes, which made things feel so much more satisfying. Then I also replaced these small green goop particles that appeared when a slime took damage, as well as using those same particles to play when a player collects a slime ball. Moving on, I replaced the capture guns particles to use these pixel block-like things instead of all squares, so it looks pretty similar to before, but just a bit more textured. And for the final bit of particles I'll showcase here is a new slime death particle that plays when a slime dies, where they kind of explode into this burst of goop that differs based on the stage of the slime killed. And yeah, that's just a bunch of the new particles in the game. I didn't show you all the particles that I fixed because there were just so many, but overall, I'm super happy with this change, so let me know what you think. But next up, I wanted to improve the feel of the shooting in the game. Not to say that it was bad right now, but there's always room for improvement. So first up, I increased the amount of screen shake for most of the weapons in the game and really tried my best to adjust the screen shake amount appropriately to each specific weapon. But don't worry, you can always turn this down in the settings menu if you'd like. Next, I added in this subtle flash shockwave effect when the player kills a slime. It's not too noticeable, but I do think it makes a difference in the overall feel of everything. Now moving on, I decided to slightly rework the capturing of slimes in the game. Right now, slimes would panic when being captured, but I honestly feel like they weren't panicking nearly enough, and most slimes were way too easy to capture. So to fix this, I made slimes overall panic much more frequently and for a longer period of time. This definitely made things a bit more difficult, but I still wasn't done. There was also this issue where the player could pretty easily just force a slime against a wall when capturing, leading the slime to not be able to really do anything, as it would try to move away from the player no matter what, which in this case would be into the same wall. So to do a simple yet somewhat questionable fix for this, I made it so that instead of slimes always panicking backwards away from the player, there would be a 50% chance instead that they would panic in any random direction. Not only did this kind of fix the issue mentioned, but it also made the slimes a lot more unpredictable when panicking, which is always a plus. So yeah, those are the new slime panicking changes. Next up, Toasted Toast on my Discord server made this awesome slime vending machine art, which I thought would look awesome in the game, so I placed it in a few rooms, as well as the tavern area. Then, after setting up some logic here, the player can walk up to this machine and purchase a slime juice upgrade for 30 slime balls. Then this really cool animation would play and spit out a slime juice, which if you don't know is an upgrade in the game, which slightly increases the player's speed, improves their dash, and regenerates 1 health on pickup. But then, if I want more slime juice, I can head back to this machine and purchase another can, but this time the juice will be slightly more expensive at 35 slime balls. Then I can purchase slime juice one final time at 40 slime balls, and after making this third purchase, the slime juice vending machine will break down with this really sick animation. But yeah, that's all I really have for this devlog. You know the usual, if you liked it, please consider subscribing and wishlisting the game on Steam, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.